I am a little bit tired.
Yeah. And I'm a little bit sore.
That makes sense. You're excused.
And anyway, I think you're right. We did have kind of a rambly episode, probably because the subject matter was very close to a topic we'd already covered, and also that we didn't really get into much design stuff. I tried to sort of save face by saying that we were taking a helicopter look at all of this shit, but we honestly didn't get to do much backseat designing on that episode.
But it was fun still, above all.
Oh yeah, I was, however, really desperately scrambling to find some way to make a point of the whole episode instead of it just being, three examples and then nothing came of it. Because it is like Gareth said, it's a very sort of early '90s kind of thing where everything has to have a message at the end. It reminds me of those, quote unquote youth series where on a very special episode of tonight's Blossom learns that menstruation isn't just for adults.
Did you guys, I don't know if it's fake or if it's genuine, but did you ever see the PSA that was apparently at the tail end of a He-Man episode where he's talking about how you shouldn't accept people touching you if you don't want it?
I don't know whether it was because the companies that were doing this at the time knew that they were just pumping gratuitous violence and sex and language into people's homes, and they felt like if they had a message at the end, they could just turn around to the FCA and go, well, look, there was a message, there was a point to this.
I think Jerry Springer actually lived on that, because Jerry Springer was just like 40 minutes of people throwing chairs at each other, and then 5 seconds of Jerry Springer sitting down and going, actually, violence is really bad. Take care, everyone.
Detective Carey, I view your action as sexual harassment and find your behavior objectionable. Please stop touching me. Detective Carey, if you do not stop, I will be forced to report this incident to my supervisor. Please stop and end this here and now. Sexual harassment is a violation of federal and state law and city and department policy. If you do not stop, I will be forced to contact the sexual harassment counselor, women's coordinator, and file a formal complaint.
All right. Let's just spend 5 minutes bitching about Phantasmagoria then.
I haven't actually played it.
No,
You've never played it.
Is that I love the fact that you're saying it as if that's a bad thing. You haven't played it. No, I haven't played it. Supposedly it's shit.
Well, it's sort of a landmark thing. It's sort of a rite of passage thing. You can't say that you can't judge a good adventure game unless you've experienced what an absolutely awful piece of shit Phantasmagoria is.
I like that. I like that kind of idea.
there are games that are worse, of course, but the Phantasmagoria really violates all of the things that we stipulated in the episode itself that you should do if you want to do a good horror and or violent, gory kind of thing. It just randomly throws in gory shit right at the end. First of all, it goes back to what Gareth was saying. One of the main horror tropes that are just where you completely expect it. Phantasmagoria comes on 7 CDs, and it's not until CD 6 that really violent shit happens. I mean, you can there are bits and pieces where you can see flashbacks of people being murdered and stuff, but it's not until the 6th and 7th CD that shit really starts to go down, and the game actually lives up to the expectations that everyone had when they started playing it, which was that, oh my god, horrible gory shit's gonna happen.
So it just doesn't sound very good.
It's not, and
that's the main thing that people seem to take away from it.
It's badly acted. It's badly scripted. I'm sorry, Mr. Hoyos, but and the amount of because Phantasmagoria is unaware of how shit it is. Harvester, I have a feeling, kind of knew that it was shit, and it was doing it for a sort of aren't we clever kind of fourth wall thing. Even though I think, as Fred said, Harvester would have worked better if it had really, had maximum level production values, like really awful, gory shit, and then tried to make the point that it was
Well,
making it.
that's certainly one thing that I'm thinking of now here after the show, that the game I took had VGA resolution, is very pixelated, and as thus the gore mostly becomes a suggestion, whereas the games that you guys chose are semi to full-on photorealistic. I mean,
Yes.
it's based on FMV and or photography, and that just means that you better make the effect well, because otherwise it's going to fall apart. And
That's a
some of the
good point.
clips,
That's
some
a
of the
good point,
clips I've
actually.
seen of Harvester and Phantasmagoria, it ought to be shocking that you're seeing real people with what are supposed to be real injuries on them, but it just falls flat because the budget just isn't there.
I can imagine. Sorry, I can imagine when Space Quest, when Police Quest 4 came out. Actually, that would have been another one of the reasons why it would have been so shocking, is that you, as good as you could get on a computer screen, you actually see a dead body, and that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they did do well. And one thing that Phantasmagoria actually does well, even though I said we were going to shit on it, is that the gore effects in the final chapter is actually really good. I don't know if you've guys seen since you haven't actually played the game, but you've probably seen the GIF file of the protagonist Adrienne strapped into a chair with this saw blade that's swinging back and forth, and it just does what a saw blade does. It just pounces through her head. And the rubber head that they've got in place of the actress's head, of course, splits open, guts and bone and I don't know, skull fragments and shit fly out, and it actually looks really, really good, for lack of a better word. It looks real.
So that's where the budget went.
That is exactly where the budget went. For what it does, once Phantasmagoria actually lets up and starts letting the gore fly, the gore is pretty good if you're into that sort of thing. It just takes forever to get there, and it is incredibly, incredibly telegraphed. It commits every violation against what makes a good horror. Even the plot doesn't make a lick of sense. But anyway, horror games don't necessarily have to make a lick of sense. I mean, look at It Follows. We praised that movie, and there's so many plot holes in that movie. I don't even know where to start. But it's just the mood and the atmosphere of that movie is so good.
Did we lose the good doctor again?
No, I'm in agreement.
He's just entranced by my voice.
He's
Exactly.
tired.
Yeah, I think we all are. Have you guys got any other examples you guys want to bring up before we put this beast to rest?
Well, no, not really. It was, I did look Dreamweb up, but I haven't actually played it. I just looked up a video review of it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Dreamweb is an interesting one because that was one of the games that got banned in Australia, even though the actual gameplay screen is so small, it's like
tiny.
postage stamp size.
Exactly.
So having violence, I mean, you said that the pixelated violence in Trilby's Nose was suggestive in nature. In Dreamweb, it's barely even there. You can't see it.
It is though. I mean, the sex was one of the reasons why it was banned. But also, a lot of the violence is initiated by you as the main player, which is very different to the way that it occurs in a lot of other of the examples that we've looked at.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. The sex thing is because you barge in on some guy while he's busy doing his woman, and you're supposed to kill him. And the whole idea of the game is that you're supposedly ridding these people from the earth because they're evil or some shit. But it's not really clear whether you're just completely batshit insane and hearing voices, or if it's actually real. At least I never got very far in Dreamweb.
I only watched bits and pieces, but yeah, that sounds like the gist of it. That was kind of what I got from it as well.
And I also wanted to bring up Phantasmagoria 2 because Phantasmagoria 2 realized how shit Phantasmagoria 1 was and decided to go the distinctly campy route. I don't know if Laura Shannon would actually agree with me on that, but it's where Phantasmagoria 1 takes forever to get to quote unquote the good stuff. Phantasmagoria 2 is just batshit insane from the get-go. And only gets weirder and weirder.
Lovely. Maybe I should play that one.
Yeah, I think you would enjoy that one. If Lorelei Shannon was actually going for a really mature, modern sort of setting, I think that sadly failed. But as a campy horror experience, it's actually really, really good. Although I will concede, there's not actually a game in there. There's exactly one. No, there are two puzzles, like in like logic puzzles. The last puzzle she throws at you right at the end, and it completely cock blocks the entire action because up until this point you've just been clicking on stuff and initiating cutscenes, and then showing people stuff, initiating cutscenes that way. It's almost a walking simulator in that respect. And then right at the end, once you feel the energy pumping, you're supposed to be escaping this alternate dimension, and you run for the teleporter, and then it throws this incredibly obtuse logic puzzle at you that you will seriously be sitting stuck on for like a good 30 to 45 minutes while the music is pumping in the background.
As a wise man named Ben Chandler once said, exploration is gameplay. So there is a game in there, even though we don't have puzzles. We covered that last week.
It's not exploration in that sense. It is, well, I suppose it's character exploration. I don't know if that counts, but you're literally not doing anything.
Character exploration. That sounds like the words of someone in court trying to get away with molestation.
I was exploring his character, Your Honor.
I didn't touch him. I was exploring his character.
I think that's as good a place as any to stop this.
Yeah, I think so too.